10. Boards. Board games, board games. It's what we're talking about. Board games. I'm not gonna shout. We are starting off this morning with a little bit of singing. Although I realise that that's also kind of quite UK folk centric, so let's go with I am starting off this evening with a little bit of singing. And today, at the end of the day, is the person who calls themselves Jay. They videos about 3 minutes long, although I will question that in a few minutes after this song. Board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hey!
Kia ora.
And good hello, Sates. It is lovely to see you. And hello, this is Oliver from Tabletop Games blog. Lovely to see you too. Morning, Bez. Evening, Jay. I love that. And good morning, Bez or Jay, or good evening. And someone's excited to see your face behind the videos because you don't really show your face, do you?
Not often. I do it in some of the long form videos, especially lately now that I have a fancy green screen and can get in front of the camera a bit more. But the format itself, yeah, it's not me. I am not the star of the show. The board games are.
I mean, we've said that it is still a tiny bit early for bedtime because, it's about 9 o'clock and you won't be in bed, for a few hours yet, but gently winding you down, hopefully, and not to be fair, it might overstimulate you and get you excited, after which you'll have to wind down all over again.
Oh, yeah.
But I am Bez. In some parts of the world, it is bedtime, and regardless of where you are, we are blethering about board games. And today I am meeting Jarrod, known as Jay of 3 Minute Board Games. And yeah, I just want to say, 3 minute board games in about 3 minutes. It's more like about 4 minutes.
It's 3 and a bit. It's up to 3 minutes 59. The 3 at the front doesn't change. The seconds at the end, that's my play space. Like the very first video I did was 3 minutes 14. The second video 3:37, and then I had to do games like Twilight Imperium, and I was like, I need every second I could possibly get within this 3-minute block to cover it. And I think that one was the first game that topped out at 3:59. And the first cut was 4:40. And I was like, I have to cut out so much of this game to squeeze it into this. Let's face it, totally and utterly arbitrary handicap I've given myself.
And yeah, we've got Oliver saying congratulations for setting up the Papa Kemu co-op.
Kia ora, Tabletop Games.
Sate says you could have filmed in double time. You could have artificially sped it up that tiny bit just to make sure that in post-processing, if it's 3 minutes 49, just speed it up by about 27%. And maybe
welcome to 3-minute board games. Let's get wonderful players. Yeah, I can go faster than I go on the videos. I can absolutely go faster. I can just get into that. It's a game for wonderful players. Just do that. No, but there is
Alan Outzen asks if anyone's tried to do 2 minutes board games, and that is in fact something that I try to do. Because for a while back, when I started this live stream, I was spending about an hour or so talking about a game, and then through the process of that, I'd formulate my thoughts, and it would be like, okay, actually, these are my main thoughts, and then I'd go in and I'd do a second video, which would be all set up, and I'd rehearse it a couple of times. And, the long video, that takes no preparation, really. It's just, okay, set up the stream, have the game beside me, and I've got time to set it up while I'm chatting away. But then once it's like down to a short period of time, I mean, mine wasn't even like animated and stuff like yours are. Mine was just, okay, here's this kind of card. Oh, there's this kind of card. But then once you've got, the more complicated a game is, the more unsatisfying a short review can be. I felt really sad about my review for Magic the Gathering, because going back to it, it was like, wow, that's such a big thing, if you know what I mean. And I felt like condensing that into 2 minutes, because every single thing that you say matters so much. I felt like, wow, I really should have even scripted it. So I'm sure that there's so much scripting that goes into something like that, so much tight editing, and it's I know that there's some people like Ben Maddox who write out all the reviews first and then they speak it out on their podcast. But I just want to give props to what you do, and also a shout out to Sarah Shah. I don't know if you know this person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. Who does the 60-second ones on TikTok?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, she's great. Like, so she does the 60-second ones, and they're really good. They're just straight out. It's her direct to camera. They're as good as you can do in 60 seconds. I think she's nailed that. But for 2 minutes, there's actually the Game Boy Geek, who I didn't know anything about when I started doing this channel. And then someone goes, oh, you shouldn't do 3-minute reviews because the Game Boy Geek already does 2-minute reviews. I'm like, no, I didn't know about that, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I had a look at his, and his short reviews are pretty good too. He calls them his Allegro reviews. But I'd never seen the channel before, so I was like, not copying him because I hadn't seen him. Plus, his is a direct-to-camera as well. So my format's very different to anything else out there.
So this is Sarah Shaw.
Yeah.
Sarah Shaw, who you can see that it is 53 seconds, 59 seconds, just to look through. 59 seconds, that's very tight, and there's a lot of scripting, and that is Puffindor on Twitter.
Yeah, Boardgames and Man. She's real good.
Check that out. I'll just share a link to that in the thing.
And
I've
promoted her on occasion as well. So, I really like her stuff. I really like what she's doing.
There's a lot of good stuff. I mean, there's brilliant stuff in and out of board gamings, but let's talk about some brilliant things in other life. So let's talk about brilliant things. Brilliant thing. Here's a little thing which is brilliant.
Okay, so my brilliant thing is slightly odd, because I'm a slightly odd chap, and it is the idea of creating a magnetic shield at the L1 Lagrange point, which is the half distance between the Sun and Mars, and creating a shield. So the shield would be massive. It would be like 100 kilometers across. The idea would be that it would catch and deflect the solar radiation coming out of the sun that hits Mars and is currently stripping away its atmosphere. So one of the problems with trying to terraform Mars, which Terraforming Mars is one of my all-time favorite games, by the way, and I'm literally obsessed with the idea of... I'm literally obsessed with the idea of Martian colonization. I'm actually working on a game based on it at the moment. And what the shield would do, by deflecting the solar winds around Mars, it would create the artificial magnetic field that you would need in order to keep atmosphere in place. So the thing is, if you were to terraform Mars right now, if you were to biff a bunch of asteroids at it, pump greenhouse gases into it, they would all bleed out. They would bleed out into space because there's nothing fundamentally keeping them there. So in order to terraform Mars, we're going to have to build this giant sunshade out in the middle of nowhere, and which would be one of the biggest engineering feats humanity has ever done. And I just find this idea absolutely fascinating of just basically it's a sunshade for Mars.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous. And yeah, to answer the comments, no, it's not a prerequisite, but maybe I've not even reached out to Stephen Bonacore or whoever. I'm I'm sure that. Yeah, Matt's lovely person. Hello, Matt. It's good to see you chatting. Everyone loves games about Mars. What other planets have got some love in the analog gaming space? And
My friend made a game called Galilean Moons about the moons of Jupiter.
nice.
Yeah.
That's very niche.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sort of a core abstract the area control game, but the 4 different moons represent different environments that have a different number of spaces on it. So, like, you get more points for controlling all of Ganymede, but it's harder to control all of Ganymede because Ganymede's more massive. So it's very comparable to a Tammany Hall or a Mission Red Planet or El Grande. So it's very much in that pure area control format. He did a Kickstarter for it early this year or late last year, and COVID sort of slowed it down a bit, but it is apparently coming out soon to backers. So, yeah, it's a game that I played a demo of 2 years ago, and I loved it so much it ended up on my top 100 board games of all time. And I introduced it by going, "Here's the best game you've never played," because it was a prototype, it was a demo, it was not published, and people were like, "But I want it now. I want this game. I want this game about Galilean moons." And yeah,
That's
so
pretty awesome.
I eventually
amazing how much.
I eventually, bullied him into putting it on Kickstarter.
I mean, it's amazing how much stuff is possible. Like this whole notion of a giant parasol for Mars. I mean, that sounds like something out of Star Wars. It doesn't sound like something that should be actually possible. And hello, Ella. It's lovely to see you. And it's your friend Ben. Hello, who says they want a War of the Worlds game, which apparently already exists. And Xates has even found the game. There you go. On Board Game Geek.
Didn't know about that one.
Xates is the resident Board Game Geek investigator, let's call them. The knowledgeable, analytical one. So it's not just about love for Mars. There is other stuff going on, isn't there? And I mean, we do also talk about other games that don't involve Mars. Games. What have we been playing? What are their names? And I only played one game. I played it yesterday. I played it like 3 or 4 times. I played this is my one. I was talking about the one-player version of the game. I was like, it's been quite a while since I played that. So I wonder if I could still beat it. And then I tried it a few times, and I think I tried it 3 times, and I lost every time. I did get quite close the 3rd time, but there's a fair amount of luck, to be fair, but I might have made some bad choices. I'm not sure, but I think it will. Yeah, there's a fair bit of chaos, but very much similar to the full game. It does still only take about 5 minutes to play through the bits, and it's like, I don't think there's that many solo games that are literally, okay, from the moment you open the box to the moment you put it away, it's going to be 5 to 10 minutes. And there's stuff that maybe fits even that 20 minutes mark, which I quite liked about Unu, which wasn't too long, and got a lot of long stuff like Energy Empire, which I keep bringing up because I love it.
It's a great game.
That is that, and that's what I've been playing. And what have you been playing? And we've got other people. Javier, hello Javier. Can only think of Onward to Venus, Shy Pluto expansion from Space Base, and Dark Moon on Saturn's Titan. Saturn's my favorite planet, I've got to admit.
Non-specific to planets, there's Leaving Earth and Space Corp, which deal with all of the planets and general exploration. So with Leaving Earth, You can, with the expansion, go all the way out to Neptune. You can do Mercury, Ceres. Yeah, I love Leaving Earth. It's such a good game. So much fun. It's a bit like a spreadsheet, but I find spreadsheets fun. Don't shame me.
Hello, Alex. And Javier asks, why are there so many games about Mars? Surely it's just because we're hoping to colonize it. It's like the next bastion of humanity. There's a lot of...
Well, it's also the only one that there's a conceivable likelihood for colonization in the foreseeable future. I mean, Jupiter, everything from Jupiter out is a gas giant. So you'd really be looking at what are the moons. So somewhere like Titan or Callisto, and Venus. We'd have to build a really big solar shade and put that in front of Venus for an extended amount of time to stop it cooking, so we could start doing atmospheric terraforming there. And that's hundreds of years away, sort of stuff. And Mercury is just a dirty, hot rock. Mercury's kind of awful. It's like the moon, but hot, and really, really hot.
Lots of love for spreadsheets. And there's a theory that humanity just flocks to red things.
There's also, Mars has occupied a fascinating space in pop culture and science fiction for a very long time. So tying in with the game I'm working on is an idea that's been presented in science fiction and Babylon 5, in Total Recall, and a whole bunch of other books and works. And it's the idea that Mars as the first colony of humanity is how you tell stories about colonialism without talking about real-world colonialism. Because Mars revolting against Earth rule is just an analog for colonial places revolting against, say, British rule or French rule. So it's been used in science fiction an awful lot as that allegory for colonialism.
Yeah, it's definitely a valid way to do it. And hello, Alex. It's lovely to see Alex here, Board Game Yogi. We know each other from London. This is another resident of the UK. Yeah, I think it's always that notion of aliens, as the US calls people, where, yeah, you can talk about literal aliens. I mean, even it's that sense of coming to a place, being the other, or, whether it's being invaded by humanity in, what's that space, the comedy Spaceball, not Spaceballs, the other, it's like the people are, attacking a planet, and it's like the planet didn't do anything bad, but it's like a bunch of insects or something. It's definitely a film.
Starship Troopers?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of, when I saw that, I was like, wow, like there's a lot of allegory for, invasion of other people and colonialism and how terrible a thing is. And when I mentioned that to friends, said, oh, wow, I'm surprised you got that, because there was quite a bit of that in the book, but apparently, it was mainly removed from the film. But I definitely still felt it was a strong sense there.
From my peculiar point of view, being tangata tiriti, which is a person of the treaty, so a New Zealand colonial, my family's been here for 130 odd years, but technically I ancestor back to the United Kingdom, Scottish, Irish, Welsh descent, but I have no actual real connection to Great Britain. I don't feel any connection to it. So the story of Martians being a people from Earth who grow up on Mars, grow up in a different place and are told, oh, but you're from Earth. That's where you're from, with the blue sky and the oceans. And they're like, that's not my world. That's not the world I grew up in. And so that's one of the reasons I have this big resonance for stories about Mars, is that kind of reflects the lack of identity a colonial has in a colonial country, because our people came over here as British, but 150 years on, we're something else, and we ourselves don't entirely know what we are yet as a people. But this country is still really searching for a cohesive identity. It's getting better, and we're getting stronger in that regard, but we're so long we were just Little Britain.
That's a really interesting point about, you know, all the ancestors and, descendants, and how everything, you know, ripples through history. And it's important to consider not only the effects of what we do on ourselves, but of those around us. And, you know, even if this isn't thematically present in most of these games about Mars, it's certainly something we can reflect on.
Yeah.
But another game that I hear you've been playing quite a bit of is Brass.
Brass Birmingham. So this won a poll on our Patreon. So we just did a big fundraiser on Patreon because my contract of work finished. So I'm currently working full-time on the channel while I search for other work. And this was the game that most people wanted to see me cover. So last 5 days, I have played 5 games of this with 4 different groups. And my first play of it, I was like, second play of it, I was like, okay, yeah. Third play, I was like, this is great. Fourth and fifth play, I'm like, when are we playing this again? Let's get Brass on the table. This is such a damn good game. That's normally it's the opposite. First time I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then I start seeing cracks in a game. And I start seeing the little flaws and the foibles.
Well, Martin Wallace is an amazing designer. And I remember playing this with Ian Smith, and this is a game that I, unfortunately, with the old version, had a bit of a disaster involving water spilling over. And Ian incredibly graciously, a week later, told me, oh, it doesn't matter. I was all set to kind of pull together all my funds to buy them a new company. And, sorry, buy them a new copy of the game, not a new company.
New copy, yeah.
But, yeah. And speaking of Brass Birmingham,
yep.
Sate says they weren't sold on it after the first couple of plays, and Ella says, why didn't you like it initially, and what changed between the first play to the third?
Well, I mean, the very, very first thing is we got the rules wrong the first time, so this happens. We weren't doing things 100% right, so the game got better once we dug into it. But what clicked was the idea that it's all about other people utilizing your stuff. It's all about being of service. So once you clicked onto the idea that you put down a coal mine and someone else uses it, that's fine. You actually want them to use it. And it was that sort of, oh, here I am. I'm the helpful one. Here's some breweries. Please use my beer. And everyone's like, thank you for your beer. That's okay. You can use my beer. It had a weirdly collegial feel for what is an incredibly competitive game, because you actually want people to use your resources. And that's a sense or a feeling that I don't get often in a purely competitive game, is that sense of, well, thank you, sir, for providing that for me. I'm really happy you put that down there. And I'm happy you took my beer. I'm happy you took my iron, because it gives me a boost. And I think that part of the game's absolute genius. And it just took a while for us to really get to grips with it.
I mean, Sate says they watched a 3-minute rules explanation, so surely they must have gotten it right. I mean, speaking in all sincerity, I kind of like to consider the first time I play a game as, okay, we'll try it out. Yeah. And then after that, I always like to read through the rule sheet. I mean, I don't expect to get something wrong. That would be overstating it. But I'm aware that there's a distinct possibility that I might. And there was a time when I was, oh my God, if I get something wrong, then that's the end of the world. It's terrible. But frankly, it doesn't really matter, as long as, you know, everyone's happy and playing by the... And then, you know, if it you read through the rules, and if there's something that you got wrong, well, you give it another couple of chances. Do you know what I mean?
So in general, I will miss 3 small details every time I play a game for the first time. Three tiny things. And it's because I read too fast or I'm not paying enough attention or whatever. And for brass, one of them was we had the turn order around the wrong way. So we had, instead of the player who spends the most money going last, we had them going first. And that was, that changed the game a little. And flipping that around and playing it properly helped. There were a couple other little bits and bobs we got wrong the first time, but it was nothing dramatic that really changed the experience hugely. But getting it right, we were like, oh, okay, because we had like a couple of complaints. We were like, this doesn't quite work, and then we were like, okay, it's because we were playing it wrong. The other big improvement we did was I threw the coins away and got poker chips.
Nice.
Yeah, because the coins are garbage.
Upgrading things. It's not really this game as sold though at that point, is it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, no, it's not. So when I review it, I will rip on the coins.
This game, and for sure, it's one that everyone can feel free to check out. But there is other stuff in life to enjoy. Yep. I mean, I was going to talk about the recent highlights, and then I realized that both of my recent highlights do involve board games. So I just want to tell you a short story. This is a true story. I mean, I did actually have a bubble tea yesterday. It was good. It wasn't amazing. I had the Jasmine Yakult. It was, the Jasmine Yakult was good. It felt a bit thin. It felt like there's not much flavor here compared to the Thai milk tea. Oh my God, bursting with flavor. So good. Compared to the, salty matcha. Oh my God, that is so viscous and thick. But yeah, the Jasmine Yakult was a disappointment. I'm not going to lie, and it might just be that I've had too much bubble tea recently. I've had like more than one a week. I mean, I've had like 3 in the past week alone. That's quite a bit. But the things that have
like every day.
And it's like if you have something every day, it loses its specialness. You want to kind of at least vary it a little bit and be like, okay, this time I'm getting this type, and this time I'm getting this type. No. I mean, you've got to measure your... Also, bubble tea's bloody expensive. It's like... But anyway, I want to talk about the story. So I was feeling a wee bit down, and then I got some really good news from that it probably won't excite anyone else except for me and people who are going to be excited for my success, if you know what I mean. And it's something that I'll be happy to kind of talk about in November, December of this year when it actually happens. But it involves, stuff. It might involve games. It might not. I don't want to say anything else. It doesn't involve a new release. It involves an existing game of mine that's already available to purchase. But anyway, so the point is I can't really talk about it. So then I went outside. I unlocked my bike outside, and then I saw a stranger about 2 meters away. And I said, hey, how are you? They said, oh, not too bad. How are you? And they said, could be better. But you know what? And then I told them my secret. And they said, oh, well done. And I said, thank you. I can't tell anyone, but you have no idea what I'm talking about. So, I can tell you.
You're not going to go on Board Game Geek and post about it, so yeah?
Yeah, I didn't even tell them, like, the name of the thing or anything. But if I tell someone else, the... detail that I told the person, people would be able to put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. But just being able to share that and talking to a random stranger, and then I realized, you know what? It's been so long since I've talked to a stranger in real life, other than in a transactional, I'm buying a thing from you and you're helping me put this through, or hey, you're letting me into this shop to buy my food or something like that. And it's been so long since I've talked to a stranger in what could be considered a friendly, frivolous manner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just and I used to do so much of that. Probably like, I don't know, 4 days a week, something like that. I'd go out dancing. I'd go out, to board games off in the pub. I'd go to, playtesting. Maybe see someone in the Royal Festival Hall. I'd generally chat to someone just as I was walking up. Sometimes if I was like, oh, are they here for us or not? I'd just like ask them, because I'm that type of person and I really need that. And I missed it so much. Also, the other highlight was that I had a different piece of potentially good news that, and then I sort of asked John Brieger for some advice, and it was really nice to chat to John. John's a marvelous person, developer. They're going to be chatting at Games Expo. Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry, you just slightly disconnected.
Oh, just John Brieger's amazing. And just chatting to someone like that was lovely. And so what were some of your recent highlights? And everyone in the comments, I invite you to share with us, what are your recent highlights?
I think we've had a few comments pop up we can answer as well.
You froze.
Yeah.
What are your recent highlights?
New Zealand internet is made out of pastry. I'm not frozen.
Ooh. Ella is eating vanilla ice cream with Oreo. Can you hear us okay,
Good on you.
Can you hear us, Jay? Jay?
All right, so yeah, I can, it's just popping in and out every now and then. But it sounds like everyone else can hear us, so that's curious. There's a couple of questions that have popped up, but we might want to answer that we haven't got to. I saw one there from Javier Fernandez.
I will get to Javier's question in the next section, if that's okay. But
okay, sweet. Yeah, cool.
Have you already said your recent highlight, Jay?
So good stuff from me. Like my good news, my recent highlights. I'm in the same boat as you. I have something super sexy and amazing that is coming later this year, but I can't really talk much about. Let's just say it involves Mars. It involves a publisher. Yeah. I look to share more about that in October. But shut up, Ella. You're not supposed to know. Secret.
Now, here is where I typically remind people to feel free to comment and ask questions. And I know, Javier, you've got a couple of questions. I will get to both of them in a minute. And fun like follow. And now we get to the best part, which is the questionably quick questions. Oh, apparently the recent highlights is that you're married to Steph. So
we're technically not married. We are technically civil union partnered, which is a law thing which was originally created for same-sex couples back before we legalized gay marriage. But because I'm an atheist and Steph's a feminist, we didn't think a conventional marriage suited us, so we went for a civil union.
So,
but back to the questionably quick questions.
Are you ready? Have you had dinner?
Yeah.
What did you eat?
I didn't hear the second
What
question.
did you eat?
What did I eat? I made pizzas, which is one of my signature dishes.
Okay. When did you wake up?
Uh, 8 o'clock.
What was the last thing you ate?
A cookie.
Iced coffee or hot tea?
It'd be iced coffee because I don't drink
What's
hot
the
drinks.
best thing to eat or drink whilst playing games?
Maltesers.
Who's the last person you spoke to in person?
Stephanie. She was on here just before.
Yeah, I saw that happen. That's totally true, by the way. Books or podcasts?
Books. I very rarely listen to podcasts. I don't read fiction, though. I only read nonfiction. I'm an extensive reader of histories and biographies.
And what's the last game? I mean, what's the last book you read?
The last book I read was Von Lieb's Defense. It's a critique of defensive strategies in the First World War by German General Von Lieb.
Okay.
Because that's how boring I am.
What's the last color you played?
Purple.
Is that your favorite color to play?
And brass. No, red is my normal favorite color, red or black. Purple's actually Steph's favorite color. And all I have to say is red, the blood of angry men, black, the dark of ages past. I do that every
cards
time
or
I'm
cubes?
offered color selection in a game. So, yeah. Cards.
Ooh, wooden meeple or plastic figurine?
Plastic figurine, a model painter.
Do you prefer art or rules?
Art.
Free games you love?
Cards or cubes? Yep, cards. Got that one.
So, a couple of questions. If I get to Javier's question, who is the general from your videos?
So that is Karl von Clausewitz. Karl von Clausewitz was a Prussian general around the time of the 30 Years' War. Karl he served in the field quite a bit, but he ended up becoming a theoretical writer. And he wrote a book called Vom Krieg, which is German for on war, which became it's probably the most influential Western book on strategy. It's comparable with Sun Tzu's Art of War, which is the most influential Eastern book on strategy. Clausewitz is taught across defense colleges all across the world, and he came up with the idea of politics as an extension, war as an extension of politics, and a lot of ideas around things like friction and war. And my background is I have a master's in defense and strategic studies, so I'm a military historian by trade. So my model painting blog was called Vom Krieg, based on the book, and I used him as an avatar. So yeah, that's my background as a military historian being played out there.
Which was the hardest?
The hardest one to explain in 3 minutes.
Game to explain in 3 minutes.
The Gaia Project. I think Gaia Project was probably the hardest one I had to do. There is a lot going on in Gaia Project. Gloomhaven would probably be second.
But saying they expected you to look like a non-cartoon version of your avatar.
Yeah, no. I was just a bald fat guy from New Zealand.
Matt asks, if you could be any piece from a board game, what would it be?
Something really cool, like yeah, I'll be the big alien from Nemesis.
Nice. Do you have a uniform? If you wanted to could you cosplay
No, I do not. The only uniform I have or I had was the one I used when I played American football.
Tell us 3 games you love.
3 games I love. So that'd be Spirit Island, Terraforming Mars, and Battlestar Galactica.
And finally, what is a... Oh, we've got to surprise... Teaching or learning?
I'm always teaching. So I prefer to be the teacher of a game. Half of what you see on the channel is a compressed form of my teaching format. So the way the game is explained is how I normally explain a game to people. I start with how many players, then I go a quick overview of what the goal of the game is, like what are we doing in this game, then the win conditions, then the core mechanics, then I go through a play-by-play turn example, and that's how I teach a game. And 3-minute board games just compresses that.
Now, can we go to a typical day for you?
There isn't really a typical day for me because I'm just learning my routine at the moment, because up until recently I was contracting, so I would be working full-time. So a typical day for me would be work full-time, play games in the evening, at night get up at 8, or get up at 7, go to work, come home, do video work. I pretty much get time I was doing in regards to playing games, testing games, doing videos, and working full-time. I was easily doing 70, 80-hour weeks. Which is why at the start of the year I actually dropped to 1 video a week as opposed to 2. So I can actually have some spare time and actually have a day or 2 where I can just sit and watch television. Now that I'm between contracts, I'm still really figuring out what routine looks like. So I'm sort of planning out that at the moment. So at the moment, I don't have a routine. I am a routineless human being.
And well done on everything you've managed to... So that's the end of our questionably quick questions. But we do have... I will continue kind of, asking questions and answering questions in an ad hoc manner. I mean, Alan Outson says that the time is running out, and then the time ran up because 3 minutes ended quite a bit ago. Because Alan had this idea that you should do all these questions in 3 minutes. We knew that was never happening. I mean, that was a game you were always destined to lose. But
I just dropped out there totally for a second. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to go check to see if Steph's downloading anything.
Okay.
Hold on.
So it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like even though between us two, I sometimes see Jay quite badly and Jay sees me quite badly, it sounds like you see both of us okay, which is at least something. It's an increase. Now, let's do a reaction video, because reaction videos are a thing, aren't they? This. Whoa! Wait, I closed that. What the hell am I doing?
Sorry.
Okay, let's start this up again. Oh my god, YouTube has so many adverts. I don't want to show that. And
browser, incognito browser. No, watch my ads. Watch my ads.
Okay, I've played it, but I'm not wanting to show it to everyone on the internet because then it's kind of for free. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's another advert.
What I might do is I might just see if I can catch the stream on something other than because I'm currently on here. I might see if I can catch it on something else. See if that helps.
So, in all sincerity, I'm not going to do any sort of reaction video. Whoa, there's free graphs. What's all this about? What you're missing is, of course, Jay's voiceover.
Can you con the local populace better than your scumbag rivals? The game ends after 9 full rounds.
And it is, you know, fairly measured speech. It's not like that Ben Crossshaw on The Escapist who talks really quickly. It's not one of those things where it's like, okay, let's cram as much information as we possibly can into 30 seconds. It's like, okay, I'm going to actually reduce the information a little bit. I'm just going to get to the main points. And it's, for how brief it is both a quick overview, but with a smidgen of opinion at the end. And there is obviously, with the style of video you do, there's an implicit acknowledgement that you are going to only do videos for things that you like. Is that fair to say? Hello?
Sorry, I just dropped out. I don't know what's happening here, but it just seems to be whenever you like get specifically asking me a question, it cuts out. Like I can follow it.
People have been incredibly helpful. Thank you, Ella, for all that work, I should have said. And thank you, Xate, for just the general work that you do in moderating and being lovely and greeting. But Xate is asking what I asked a minute ago, which is, do you only do videos for games you like?
Do I want to see? Here's something interesting. Like when I listen to the stream on Twitch itself, I can actually hear. But not on the actual direct connection.
It's probably going to be less of a back and forth big conversation, so it's going to be a little bit more monologue-ish, but yeah, do this.
I'm wondering is there a way for me to mute the StreamYard and then I can listen to it on the stream, which I can actually hear?
I mean, if you can hear snippets of me, hold on, people. I'm going to sorry, everyone.
This is the problem when you're connecting to the back end of nowhere that has internet made of pasta. Like we don't actually have fiber optic cable here. We just run information down pasta.
So I don't know if this question's been answered.
Yeah. Only if it's for games you like. No, I tend to do games based on what people on Patreon say and what gets sent to me. But one of the curious things about that is that I tend to focus on games I do like. If I absolutely loathe the game, I am not inclined to give it the 4 or 5 plays. I really want to really sort of get the understanding I need of the game in order to do the review properly. So for the most part, they are games I like, but I also did a 3-minute video for Tapestry.
So,
which I hate.
Presumably because that's the hot stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I got sent a review copy. It was the hotness. I played it. I really did not enjoy the experience whatsoever. But that's why I have a separate video series called The Games I Got Rid Of, where because the 3-minute recaps are really about, is this game a good fit for you? Based on my experience, I think this kind of person will like this game, this kind of person won't like this game. The Games I Got Rid Of section is where I can go, I really didn't enjoy this game personally because XYZ, or I'm getting rid of this because another game does the same thing better. And Tapestry, it's just really disappointing. Really disappointed with that game.
So, we've been asked how the
so we'll cook for board games.
Going.
Really well, really well. So the Patreon nearly doubled in the last week.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And
so that's shot up a lot, and that was based off me saying I'm going to be doing this full time for the foreseeable future. So really just humbled, floored by the number of people who came out to support me. It's just I legit cried a bunch over that weekend. I was just so overwhelmed with the aroha that came out. A lot of love.
Yeah, I think it's deservedly so, because you are continuing to work hard, and I think that whilst what I do, I guess, does require a little bit of organization and people wrangling and stuff, it's easier in that, okay, people are putting up with a lot of bad tech, and people are putting up with a lot of rambling, so this isn't scripted. And yeah, there's
and I think one of the repeated comments I get from patrons is along the lines of, thank you for taking the time and respecting my time. I'll give you some money because your content respects my time. And I think that's a really, really flattering thing to say, that people feel like I'm taking the effort to make the content more digestible for them. Therefore, they appreciate that I take that time and that effort to do that.
Yeah, 100%. It's really great work. We've got a question from Xate. So is it always 5 times?
Yep. So five times is the median point. Some games I don't play 5 times. Sometimes I play a lot more. I think June is the first game I did a review of only after 1 play, because it's a long game, and I'd played the original June like 3 or 4 times 20 years ago. A game like, if I was to review Ganz schön clever, I probably would have played that like 30 times before I review it. But 5 is the median point. It really is, do I feel comfortable walking up to a table of strangers, plopping down the game and teaching them it, and being able to talk about the game with authority? Again, Twilight Imperium 4th edition, I only played that twice, but I played 3rd edition like 15 or 20 times.
And there's a lot of...
And we'll cook for board games.
Talk about Tapestry. Oops, sorry, did I cut you off?
Yeah, sorry. Just that, talking about... was it We'll Cook for Board Games? Stopped watching most reviewers because it was too much information and too much time spent. So the reason I started 3-minute board games, or the reason I came up with a format idea, is I was looking for a game, and I can't even remember what game it was. And I was like, I'm curious about this game. I want to look at a review of it. And I looked on Board Game Geek, and the shortest review was 28 minutes long. And I nearly headbutted the monitor. 28 minutes was the shortest. There were like 35 and 40-minute reviews of this game. And I was like, surely there has to be a way that I can find out what I need to know about this game in a reasonable time frame. And there was someone doing rules videos at the time, the Rules Girl, and I really quite admired their format. And I was like, well, the Rules Girl does rule vids. She does them really in a tight format. Maybe someone needs to do reviews in a similar, but not not the same format, of course, but in a similar sort of style, paste all the information. I was like, well, if no one else is doing it, I want to watch it. I can't imagine I'm the only person out there who wants to watch this. I can't imagine I'm the only person sitting there going, a 28-minute review? You've got to be kidding. Yeah. It's 25 minutes of fluff. I mean, my top 100 video, the very first one I did was 37 minutes long. Tom Vassal's is 9 hours. So we have very different approaches to content. Mine is, here it is. This is what you need to know. Bam, 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 bam. And a few other content creators out there, they just, I don't know. They have a different approach. Not saying it's better, it's just not for me.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of scope for more shorter.
So what I do is there is a lot of scope for shorter stuff. Stella from Meeple Academy has done a really good video series called Short and Sweet. They're lovely people, Stella and Tarrant from Meeple Academy, and her Short and Sweet vids are, they're normally previews for the most part, but they're pretty good.
No, it's Meeple Academy.
Yeah. Meeple University. Meeple U.
Yeah, it says Meeple University.
I'm thinking, wait up, people. Hold on. There we go. No.
What's
Copy that. Paste it here.
Okay, so we've got Sates who's a
People you. I just put it on private chat.
Stuff. And good luck. Yeah, I'll make this. There we go. Good luck. So once.
And hopefully, if we do another one of these,
review of Tapestry, when's that going to come out?
It came out a year ago.
Oh.
So my actual 3-minute recap of it is very even. It's very balanced. It says who would like the game, who wouldn't like the game. Where I really dig into it is the games I got rid of in 2019.
I thought Tapestry just
came
out,
I mentioned that.
Like, is it? Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's a year old now.
I got the new one confused. I was thinking of Pendulum.
Pendulum.
With all the stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all right, we'll cook for board games.
Bye-bye.
See you, mate.
So
some of my games is a funny one. I like half the games and I don't like the other half. So they're very hit or miss for me.
I mean, there's definitely some really amazing stuff that they do. And I respect
Between Two Cities, Scythe, Euphoria, and Viticulture, I really dig.
I mean, I felt like Between Two Cities was a genius design, and good on Jamie and Alan for recognizing that and publishing it, because the whole notion of two neighbors, not that the design was from Jamie, but they've got a good track record of recognizing good games from other people, whether it be Elizabeth Hargrave or who did that one? Was it Ben? Someone?
Not sure. I know it wasn't Jamie. And Wingspan is a game that I don't dislike, but I don't like it either.
So,
I'll play it, but I wouldn't own a copy myself.
Between Two Cities is by Ben Rossett and Matthew O'Malley. Between Two Castles is a completely different game. That was the follow-up, mixing together Between Two Cities and Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Thank you for joining us, Oliver. It's good to see you, and I hope you have a good day at work. Now, I would like to touch upon, let's, in as much detail as you would like, let's talk about some of your favorite things. I mean, maybe not Mars for half an hour.
Well, Stephanie. My favorite thing is Stephanie, who's currently sitting in the other room, letting me do this podcast in peace. She's the love of my life, and I feel continually blessed to have met someone who not only appreciates me, she puts up with me. I am really awkward. She's really awkward. Our awkwardness works together. She has such a passion for genuine change in the world. She currently works in Parliament, and she's worked on reform on sexual and domestic violence. So she works directly for the Undersecretary in charge of reforming domestic and sexual violence in New Zealand. The work she has done has helped thousands of survivors of domestic and sexual violence. She tends to play down the import she has, but she's my absolute hero when it comes to stuff like that, because she's making legit change in the world for the better, and it's just cool to be able to share a life with someone who does really cool stuff like that. And she plays games with me.
That is awesome.
And we met at we've always had the hobby. I'm more into the hobby than she is by some margin, but we did meet at a games club where she was volition playing games. So she's my favorite thing. My next favorite things, I have 4.
That's cool. You can have 4.
But yeah, aside from that, I think we just really focused on, living our best life together, trying to make the world slightly better. I like working for organizations where we're doing something. I just finished up at conservation, where I was working on a database that helped bird banding and bird tracking, as well as a few other side projects. And before that, I was working on reforming the prison system to ensure better outcomes for Maori prisoners. So for me, I don't like just going into work and collecting a paycheck. I like to feel that the work we do makes the world. And unlike a lot of people who talk about making change, I actually like to do it. So that's why one of the things we kicked off recently was the Papakumu Co-op, which is literally terminology for board game co-op, and that's myself and 5 Maori designers and board game players who want to see better outcomes for Maori culture, to protect tikanga, which is protocol, and protect whakapapa and tupuna, which is to protect heritage and to protect the ancestors. And as I said before, I am a tangata tiriti, which is a person of the treaty. I'm a colonial, but everyone else involved in the co-op is Maori, and whakapapa's back to a local iwi. And I'm really here to help them get their stories out and to provide the board game industry knowledge and expertise. But this is the kind of thing I like to do, is I have a platform here. I could use it to sell games, or I could use it to inform and educate, as well as share my love of games. So I've never been about selling games. I've always been about sharing my love of them. So if someone watches one of my reviews and goes, man, this looks awful, then I'm like, cool, yeah, my job's done. I saved you some money. I don't want you buying a game you're going to hate. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of where Steph and I come from in terms of what we like to think about the world, where we see our place in it, and a little bit about what we want to leave behind. It's obvious, really.
I like that you're doing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing to kind of look at your blog here and then realize that, wow, it was just a couple of years ago that, wait,
Yep.
did I go to the wrong post? Yeah, here. It was just, 2.5 years ago that you launched this channel, and it feels like, I think I might have seen it at the time, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, but there's not enough videos yet. And I'll probably go back and watch a bunch more, because I just really... Sometimes it's not even about purchasing decisions, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just want to hear about a lot of games.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe I just want to, be excited and have something playing while maybe I'm cutting up stickers or something, and have some information coming to me in like quick, speedy information, being like, okay, this is what this game's all about. This is what this game's all about. And before your channel, I feel like the closest to that was something like Bauer's Game Corner, because yes, Bauer does do the this is how you play and this is the other thing, but Bauer's Game Corner, the reviews are high energy and, brief compared to a lot of other stuff where it's, 20 minutes plus.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from there. One of the funny things I hear about the videos is a lot of people don't use them for review purposes. They send them to members of their play group and go, this is what we're playing this week. So you come around to my house, we're playing, we're playing Energy Empire. Here's Energy Empire in 3 minutes, so you got a rough idea of what we're going to be playing. Which makes a lot of sense. They're trailers as much as they are reviews.
For sure. I mean,
and it's why one of the secret sources to the channel's success is our videos just keep getting hits. So a lot of review channels still get like a big boom and then it'll drop off. We get a smaller boom, but we just keep getting ongoing traffic on videos. Like even today, Gloomhaven in 3 minutes will, 2 years it's been published, have 600 views today.
Sure, but there's a lot of new people researching Gloomhaven, given that it's #1 on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, but just in general, our videos just have this long tail. They just keep ticking over. And whereas if I review a Kickstarter game that doesn't go anywhere or whatever, it just sort of goes and drops away. But by reviewing classics and games that are popular, the format it has a stickability to it. So that's why, I've got videos that do over 100,000 views, but they don't do them in a couple of weeks. They do them in a year and a half, 2 years. They just steadily tick over. Well, what is I cannot put out a video for a month, and the channel's views won't really drop because it just keeps ticking over, which is cool. I really like that. It's just got the videos have
good content,
a high, long utility.
I mean, I feel like that sort of steady nature is when you feel like, okay, actually you have something good. I mean, when it's like, okay, people are still wanting to buy a game 2 years after it's released. People are still wanting to watch a video a couple of years afterwards. It's like, yeah, that's still relevant because you've done something meaningful. If it's a good song, people are still going to be listening to music from 100 years ago. I mean, I enjoy Edith Piaf. Yeah. Just
Yep.
and just to set Xate's mind at rest, no, you're not being replaced by Aqua, because Aqua, just to say, Alexa is now the third moderator I've decided for the channel, and I invited Alex yesterday-ish. I think it was yesterday, and yeah, they said, yeah, that's cool with me, because it is obviously a responsibility, and I just wanted to, sometimes Xate can't be around, especially, on a Sunday, and it's just getting to the point where I feel like it's always good to have a couple of people around, if you know what I mean, just to, that's if someone horrible turns up. So I want to say, yeah, thank you very much to Alex for taking on this thing. Thanks to Alan Oughton, though I don't think Alan does much moderation. Alan deserves it, being here basically literally every day since I started. And thank you, Xate, who's probably my most active and devoted moderator person. So just quick thank you to everyone. But yeah. So yeah, moving on. I'm assuming that's not true, Alan. So what it was this kind of fact that there was that there weren't short videos that you felt like, okay, I've got to do something. Do you think that were you actually the first? Were there people who'd done this before you? I think there were people who'd started doing something but just hadn't kept it going as long as you know.
As I said, there were Geek Battle. Yeah, there was the Game Boy Geek, but his was sort of built into other things, and he also mostly does preview. What sort of set me apart was my very first video was Spirit Island in about 3 minutes, and it was big. So my very first video ended up within a couple of weeks being the top thumb, the Board Game Geek page for that, beating out Tom Vassell and a few other reviewers as well. And more, we want more. This is a different format. It's different. We want to see more of this. And I think that instant sort of success is like, there's a lot of people who've been doing board game reviews a lot longer than me who have never seen as I've gotten. So in terms of like pure views, there's board game reviewers who get more views than 3 minute board games per month, and per video there's, and that's Shut Up and Sit Down and No Pun Included, and we get more views per month than No Pun Included because we do one more videos a month. They only do one or two. So Man vs. Meeple, we do more views per video. Pretty much anyone else you can think of. Rado, yeah, because Rado does like 10 videos per game, so it's really sort of hard to look at his numbers. But we don't do high volume, so yeah. But our numbers are really, really good, and it's just up remarkably quickly. Like within 6 months, we were starting to tick up, and I think we hit 1,000 subscribers the first 3 months, and then it just kept going. We were at 10,000 within the first year, and about 25,000, then nearly 40,000. And there's not that many channels with more than 40,000 subscribers out there. I mean, like, there are some really well-established channels we blitzed past in next to no time. I just used to see lists of biggest channels. I'm like, we're going to catch those guys in 6 weeks. We're going to catch that group in a couple of months. And these people are entrenched. Oh, I see D.
Yeah, another. Oh,
That's
wow.
the CD. I think she's the one that runs Rallycon.
Oh,
yeah. It's a Rallycon raid. So Rallycon. So Rallycon is probably going to be the biggest board game convention in the world this year because of the way we can actually get people in a building and play games. And we're going at the same time as Essen. Essen is asleep. We will be awake. There'll be a little bit of crossover with Essen Spiel Online. And we're going to be playing some of them being released at Essen. We'll be actually playing them live in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Was there any consideration to separating it? Because presumably some people will want to watch the Essen videos. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was there any thoughts about? Well, you don't know that.
It's an opportunity for us.
CD was. Yeah, CD. Do you want to come back on? Like, come back on like next month. That would be nice. So let's. Awesome. Yay. So I will send you some dates. I think I've got you on Twitter. And so we don't need to talk about WellyCon from the organizational point of view. Let's talk about WellyCon, if you want to, about how your personal experience. Because I've never talked to WellyCon about anyone who actually went to the physical convention and doesn't. Wait a minute, do you volunteer for it?
Me? No.
Okay, great. So you are the first hunter of WellyCon that I've talked to. How was WellyCon 2019 for you?
Well, I've been a media guest the last couple of times. So yeah, I probably will be set up there with and some lighting and stuff because I want to. We've got a pretty impressive wee board game scene here in Wellington. Phillips and Sam McDonald from Garfield Games. So we've also got Jarrod Gray, who designed Endeavour. We used to have Martin Wallace go to Australia a little while ago, but he used to live around the corner from me. And we've got a few other companies as well who'll be around. There's a strong little New Zealand board game development scene. There's Where to Workshop as well, but they probably won't be there. Yeah, it'll be good to get a lot of those people on camera.
Do you want to talk about? So you've been talking on Twitter and on my stream actually mentioned that you want to start chatting about more games that come from your part of the world, not just New Zealand, but actually anywhere that is not USA or Europe.
Yeah. So in general, one of the board games is we're now, I believe, the biggest board game channel that is not based in either the UK or North America. There is a wealth of voices out there across Southeast Asia, East Asia, South America, East Oceania, Zealandia, that are making board games. And I want to see those different perspectives. I've seen what Europeans thinking about castles in 10th century Europe like. I've played that game a lot. I want to see games about marriages in India. I want to see games about fishing in Sri Lanka. I want to see games about agriculture in Vietnam. I want to see those different lived experiences. Oh, they turn into different games. And I want to see just how rich this world of board games can be. Get it just from the perspective of Northern Hemisphere white fellas. I think there's a very rich world I just haven't seen much of. And if I can do my part to spotlight some of those games, if I can, for me, it's fun. It's every like one of my pearl games over the last wee while was Yokohama, and Yokohama is about the Japanese city of Yokohama during the Meiji Restoration, which is a fascinating period of Japanese history. But it's made by a Japanese designer from Yokohama, and it feels different. It just feels like a different game. It's telling a different story than a comparable industry building made by, say, a Dutch designer focusing on the port of Amsterdam at the same time. And it's those unique points of view and different experiences that I just want to enjoy. I mean, it's not that I'm jaded with the other games. I'm just curious. Yes, and I want to see more diverse voices. I want to see more different points of view, and I just want to try these other games that are waiting to be discovered. They're out. They're in people's minds. They're in people's workshops. They might even be in print. But I just want to see more of them. If they're good and I enjoy them, I want to share that with other people. So I've got a couple of games that have come in. I've got one called Shaoli, a Korean publisher. They contacted me recently, and I've got a few others coming in as well. So we'll see how that goes. I want to keep sort of banging, see what weird and wonderful different experiences I could have.
But presumably you want to keep doing games that are like, oh, I wonder what Jarrod thinks of X. Like, if there's a big name game, do you feel a desire to give your take on it? I mean, let's say Pandemic Legacy Season 0, for example.
Yeah.
Do you feel a need to talk about those bigger names?
Sorry, I missed a bit of that. Sorry.
Do you still feel a need to talk about the bigger names?
Oh, for sure. The thing is, you can. This is one of those false dichotomies. Talking about other designers, talking about other people, the standard sphere doesn't mean the dominant sphere stops existing. So, of course, I'll talk about Visor Games release. Of course, I'll talk about the big hits from FFG or other big publishers. But this is about the playbook a little bit wider, and not just looking at those big games, but seeing if there is a little hit out there. Another game I played last year was Rurik, Dawn of Kiev, and that was a Russian game. Apparently there's some interpretation of the events if you're Ukrainian, and there's this Russian-Ukrainian thing I didn't know about, but it's a different game from a Russian point of view. Another Russian game coming as well. And it's just, they're fun. It's fun to talk about big games. It's fun to talk about little games. It's fun of games. And one thing I keep getting from people with my channel is they love it when I do my obscure board game reviews. They're like, no one's Planet of the Apes. No one's talking about Far Away. These kind of games that might only have 200 owners on. And so I do videos on obscure games. So I've done 2 of those, and they're medley reviews. And this might be the format I use for put them into a medley review, because a lot of people will tune into, if you're reviewing 10 or 12 slightly unknown games, you'll get that if you just review the game by itself. And that's probably the format I'll use, is to do them as digest reviews.
And to have the same content for the major titles, whilst adding on all this new content for obscure stuff, will you basically just be making more stuff?
Yeah, probably. I can make 3 or 4 times as much stuff as I have been, because working 40 hours and then doing the channel, I was constantly in a state of exhaustion. If I managed to get this to the point where I'm only working 2 days a week or 3 days a week, or even full time at some point, I'll be able to put out demonstrably more content. And yeah, that's the thing is, as a hobby, this is a 1 to 2 videos a week thing. As a job, it's a lot more.
I think that when you talked about games that are made elsewhere, and I can't remember, there were a couple of more normal examples of themes that are quite prevalent anyway, because all the time we see games about a far-off island from that European perspective. And forgive the typos, but there's a big difference between an Indian marriage from the perspective of me or from the perspective of an Indian. And
it's about that lived experience and translating that lived experience into a board game. So a game about the pre-colonial history designed by Maori is going to have a very different feel than someone from North America reading a history book. There's just a difference of that natural learned lived experience that you just can't get from a book. You can't get from reading. And that's why I want to read the games designed by the experience. I'm not interested in seeing what Antoine Bowser's point of view on Indonesian culture is. I am interested to see what an Indonesian game designer comes up with. I'm really interested to see what a Chile with. They might have a really terrifying game about the Pinochet era that could be really compelling and really emotive. It might. Every country has its stories. Every people have their stories. Every person has their perspective, and they're all valid.
And of course, that brings us to Maori culture, which is something that you're pushing against. It's not that you've said that you don't want other people to depict it, it's that you don't want lazy depictions.
It's complicated. So first of all, I'll caveat this by saying that I a thing when I'm acting in partnership with Maori. So I'm not a white guy riding out there and going, no, you shall not do the culture. I am not the expert on that. I know enough basics to know when someone's seriously putting their foot in it, but I will always defer to the experience. And it's about the commercialization of other people's culture. So yeah, there really is CD. And there was a game that came out a little while ago called Kapai, and it's basically a roll and write abstract. And it just no sense. It's just like they plucked the words out of online search engine and threw them on a page. It's just taking something that is very valued to a people and truthless commodity. And for me, it's disrespectful. And I think what Papakumu Co-op wants to do is focus on building up that understanding that commodity, that when you use someone's ancestors, when you use items of significance, which we call Talisman. That means item of something of cultural significance or value. And they hurt people. It's not just, oh, we're offended. It's just disrespect. It's a slap in the face. And people who have had this happen en masse for 150 odd years. So Maori was banned from here for some time, only really being unbanned in the 70s. Maori language in general nearly died out on rural marae, and in the cities it was almost wiped out. So here we have a people who restore their language, restore their culture, restore the things that were valued to them, and then they see some American on a box and selling it. And here's stuff that they've bled for, died for, marched for, protested for, generations to restore. And some guy's just going to flog it off in a box. And the fact that people don't get why this is problematic, that really bothers me, because it indicates a lack of respect for other people's belief, just a lack of respect and a base level of dehumanization. Your culture is my commodity to sell. I can put it in a box. I can make money. It's arrogant. And why the hell are you making a game about Maori culture that has nothing to do with Maori culture? Just set it in space. Make it about sea monsters. Anything else. Like anything else. Except to use an indigenous or colonized culture as a commodity. Don't be lazy. Yeah.
I think that it reminds, I can't remember which game it was, but they had different things that you could collect, and it was fairies, unicorn, something like mermaids, and then one of them was actually a type of person. I don't know if you know this game. They changed it for the actual game. Like, thankfully, before it got to the end of development, they were like, hey, wait a minute. All of these other things are not real. But if you then put... It was something as ridiculous... wasn't this, but it was something as ridiculous as just saying, oh, Greek, like you're finding the Greeks, and it was like some kind of Greek, ancient Greeks, and then there might have been, you know, fairies and mermaids, and so like these are all cool people. It's not bad to be a fairy or a mermaid or a Greek person, or it wasn't actually Greek, but you know where I'm going. But it's kind of putting that, presenting it almost as a fictional thing. I mean, I think that this is definitely something that it would be lovely to have you on again, maybe next month. I mean, I say next month as if that's really far in the future, but you can see the Google Calendar and pick a couple of dates from it if you can. And let's talk about this a bit more, about if that's something you've already said that that's something you're up for doing. So let's talk about it a bit more, why it's a problem, what can be done about it, and it's kind of meshes with Orientalism, because I know that obviously Maori culture is not from the Orient, but it's kind of, this comes from the same psychology. Do you know what I mean?
It's all rooted deep down in, we'll dig into it.
I think that it's important for
reasons.
It feels important for us in this decade, if we can, to think about who we are as people, to think about our connections, and to look carefully at everything we do, not just to say, okay, this is what's going to bring me more money or more success in your own personal life, but also really considering how you connect to others and having there's something immensely messed up about the USA notion of a corporation, where the legal obligation for a corporation is to make profits. And so as the director of a corporation, if you do something that, if there is something that's not deemed as illegal, obviously there's laws against that, but if there's something where it's like, okay, this thing has a penalty, and because you can't send a corporation into prison, and that limited liability company then basically says, okay, no matter what the corporation actually does, if the corporation makes a decision to suddenly kill thousands of people because of a fault in car engineering, I mean, this isn't my example, and it is, I think it was made for, but like that whole thing, it's true. That's the thing. Like, you do kind of come to a cost benefits analysis, and for corporations, only cost is, okay, how much money does it fine us? How much money is a recall? Versus how much profits are we going to make? For everything, there's a cost benefits analysis, and Kickstarter was the first what they call B Corp, where legally it does not have any, it does not need to maximize profits. It's at least allowed to do something else, which is a step in the right direction. But what you're doing with corporations, where you're able to absolve the directors and individuals from their responsibilities, essentially, you're not only allowing people to behave in an immensely psychopathic way, but you're actually encouraging that, and you're incentivizing it, which is, sorry, I feel like I should have put up some sort of banner, but you know, that is the nature of what capitalism has led to in the USA. I don't think that there are the same legal obligations for in many other countries. It's different. Obviously, this is very USA centric, but USA is a country with a lot of power, and I think it epitomizes a problem that we currently have, that a lot of people only see things in a cost benefits analysis for themselves, and you know, don't really think about other people's happiness as a genuine benefit for them as an individual, which, even if you are doing good things in a, I guess we get to the whole philosophy of, if you do good things because it makes you feel good, is that selfish and all that? But you get what I'm saying. It's kind of, we need to start thinking about other people, and please think about other people. And if someone from a certain point of view is telling, even if you look at it from a cost benefits analysis, the question is, how much is it costing you to go into space? You know, you can make it vaguely Maori. Yeah, there is a cost. It takes effort. You can look at Maori, look at Aztec, look at stuff, do what Magic the Gathering does, where it's clearly not any one of these places. If you look at
Spirit Island. Spirit Island is a really good example of a game that conjures up the imagery and the aesthetics and the idea of the Pacific, but it is not the Pacific people. It is not the Samoans, it is not the Tongans, it is not the Maori, it is not the Tuvalu. It is the Dahan. They created their own Pacific people, and they created their own spirits.
Yes, there, and I think that Spirits Island is brilliant. It's one of the games
I fixed the problem. I fixed it. I fixed the connection problem.
Oh, did you actually do something?
Yeah. like the controls for my camera were still on, and I was like, oh, I should shut those down, and everything came right after doing that. So it was when I adjusted my camera, it broke.
Oh, amazing. So that means that when we have you on, you will actually be clear.
Yeah. So yeah, you've come into focus, and yeah. So sorry, everyone. That was entirely my fault.
Just in time for us to end.
Oh, shit.
So, speaking of which, we should wrap up. I feel like I had something else really. You know what? Yeah, it takes cost. I don't want to kind of cover this for more than 2 more minutes, but just to say, yeah, it's something that it's worth doing. Yes, there's a cost, but if you do that work of making your own fiction, if you do the work of making your own world building, then you are going to end up with a game that's so much more deep, and you have to have a belief in it. It breaks my heart. I've worked for people where, you know, it comes down to a profit. Okay, maybe this game isn't going to be great. We'll just cut our losses. We'll release the game anyway, but because we'll probably sell a couple of thousand, but we're not going to spend any more time developing it. Where I'm there saying, you understand, like, my hourly rate is not that high. If I spend like 2 days on it, I guarantee this would be like so much better, because there is this. It's not that this. I believe that I'm better than anyone else who's works on this. Just that this entire area of the game just has not been considered. No work has been put into this thing. We should at least look at it, and yeah, it's
Well, that's one of the things with the game I'm making is I built the world. I built how Mars looks. I built the cultures of Mars, and they're allegories for New Zealand in a lot of ways, but we'll get into that. But the richness of building your own world and building a game in it is so damn rewarding. Like, it's just been one of my favorite things over the last 2 years developing this. It's just creating fiction, creating background. World building is so good, it's so much fun, and yeah, I feel I've created something unique. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what my hourly rate for being a game designer turns out to be, because I've put so much work into this, and I don't think I'll make much money off it.
But that's the thing. Like, sometimes we need to work out. I mean, and that's the sad thing about being entirely profit driven.
Yeah.
That you know, the truth is that at least for the next. So, the truth is, I wanted to make money by moving into board games. I made In a Bind. I hoped that would be the first game of multiple that, you know, as I got more and more popular, maybe I would be able to, you know, I thought, okay, as long as I'm making it and I'm not making a loss, that's fine. I'll make profits down the line. I'll make more games. I'll work on it. But in the back of my mind, also, you know, if I do make, this is a really good game, it could sell, you know, millions of copies, which I still believe, under the new guise of Yogi, of course. This is the, I don't know what language. Oh, German. Bloß nicht verknoten. Yeah. So when I was doing that, I wanted to make money in the broad thing. Now, I've been very lucky that I'm kind of making a running gag out of it at this point, just by reaching out and taking one of several copies. And it's been in like more than 20 languages. It's sold a decent amount, and you know, I've got high hopes for what happens to it in the future. Thankfully, this is a game that's paying my rent. And based off that, you know, people started to know me. And so I was given some contractual work to do. I've worked on more games than you could tell just from BGG, for sure. Like,
Right.
there's been a lot of games that I've had a little bit of inputs in, but
Yeah.
I don't really bother talking about. Again, this doesn't make me rich because my hourly rate is fairly low, and it does depend on the company. Like, if I've not been hired by Hasbro, but if they were to want to hire me, I would suggest to higher hourly rate than what I would suggest to Alley Cat Games, for example. You know, clearly.
Hasbro got deep pockets; they can afford it.
Yeah, exactly. But I am lucky in that, okay, that game made me known. I've been able to have this stuff, and I've worked for more than this many companies. Like, more than this many companies have paid me, and which is nice, and that does definitely. So overall, last year, apart from one job for King's College London, which they were at, I was doing a co-design on a LARP with someone who it's all about actually gender, and it's something that I'm really proud of. It's never been played properly. We did all the play tests, and then the exhibition was meant to go, well, it's opened. It was, I think, the very end of February it's opened, and then we were going to play the LARP in the middle of March. So yeah,
that's not a go.
They currently say that they want to basically delay everything else, so it will happen. And if you're in London, or you can get to London and you're interested in that, then I guess join my mailing list and I will let you know on that. Or if you read every tweet that I do, which is quite a big ask, but join my mailing list. That's the easier way.
I don't think I'll be leaving the country for a year or two at least.
But yeah, they say that they're going to do that next year in 2021. Oh, yeah. So it's like still quite a way down the way. But yeah, they're going to delay it until they're like, okay, we're 100% safe that it's okay to encourage. Sorry, this is so ridiculous now. So it's pretty much a mega game. It's 35 people in a room.
Yeah. One of my very, very best friends, Dylan, designs mega games. He's designed about 6 of them. He lives just around the corner from me, and I bounce ideas of my designs. He gets me around to test his games, so I'm pretty familiar with the old mega games. They're a very different thing.
But this is very much inspired by my knowledge of typical board games. I guess I've got more of a background in making lighter, partsy, simpler things. It's not an online mega game. It could not be an online mega game because a lot of it is based on LARP. So there's a lot of, it's super important, the whole speaking person to person, and it's all about overhearing. It's incredibly rules light, if you know what I mean. I helped create content. There's different countries. Every country has an internal kind of citizen bit where they're talking about the different rules, and then the leaders of the countries go in and kind of talk. It's almost like a UN summit, and then at the end of the year they kind of go back and they report stuff. It couldn't really work on Discord because the nature of having 5 people in a country, or I think we had 5 countries and it was for 40 people maximum, so it's up to 8 people per country. So yeah, sorry, so 8 people, the lowest we ever had, even in the initial playtesting, was 5 people per country. And, KCL, it was really good. They were able to get a lot of people for the playtests, which was really impressive because they've got, I would never have been able to manage, a 35 people playtest. It was crazy. And yeah, I don't know what kind of budget most mega games do, but also it's not a very long one. It's still like 3 hours, but still it's not such a long thing. But
You
yeah,
familiar-
just the nature of having 8 people talking, it's totally different. So sorry, it couldn't
Are you
work
familiar with
electronically.
Vampire the Masquerade?
Yes, it's
I-
vague, similar
ran a-
like politics.
I ran a 30 to 50 player one of those for multiple years. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the challenges of running
But
big LARPs, lots
I mean,
of people. They're full
the
on.
thing that I was blown away by was not that we were able to get that many people for the actual thing, but that we were able to get so many people for a playtest of a thing, where it was like, yeah, a lot of this content is still work in progress. And then we actually got academics and, who was talking to us about, and yeah, Xate says there's Vampire the Masquerade groups on Discord. It's a bit different. Also, bear in mind that this is King's College London. They do good stuff, and it's again not the highest hourly rate because both Sarah Jury and I were intensely invested in making it a good thing. Honestly, I'll probably should reach out to Sarah to talk about this because this feels like something where I should have, people talking about my own things like I'm doing for Seas of Power. But anyway, let's us try to wind down because we're basically 2 hours, and I'm going to say today 2 hours is the absolute limit for me because
I am
Chris
the ultimate limit.
might come. So let's say first to recap, what have we talked about? We've talked about how your videos, your approximately 4-minute videos, are very good.
3 and a bit.
Yes, but when that bit is more than 30 seconds, when that bit is on average more than 30 seconds.
If someone says they're going to turn up in about 3 minutes and they turn up in 4 minutes, do you go, you're 7 seconds late? No, you don't. It's about 3 minutes. About.
Look,
I
think that
I wasn't given a time limit.
I think that if you say, I'm doing these videos, if it's editing, if I say, if someone says, oh, Nina Simone songs are, well, to be fair, no one, the thing that gets me, okay, the thing that gets me is it's not even like any of your videos are 2 minutes and something. If you were like, okay, 2 minutes and 58, then I'd be like, okay, at least it's sometimes less than 3 minutes. If sometimes it's like one of them for a really simple game, I could give you simple games to review. For goodness sake, review Yogi. Like I'll send you one. And then you could do that in 2 minutes. Bring your average down. You need it, for goodness sake. Because about 3 minutes, shoot to my mind, about 3 minutes, okay, what I was hoping for ideally is 2 minutes 30 to 3 minutes 30. I want that range.
No. I can see where you're coming from. There is my April Fool's video from 2 years ago, which was Snakes and Ladders in exactly 3 minutes. I timed the video to be exactly 3 minutes long. So, because that was part of the gag for being Snakes and Ladders. And that's
but also the thing is, like, part of the gag is that you are never exactly 3 minutes.
I think
and the thing is, like, look, Xate talks about me being the 1.5 hours. The only person I say publicly I'm about 1.5 hours to is Xate. I do tell guests when they're coming on, like, I should probably extend it a little bit more now. Basically, the point is that if a guest's coming on, we have had Calvin leaving bang on 1 hour. I've had people saying, okay, I need to head off after 1 hour. but maybe I could stay an extra 10 minutes, and then I make sure to start wrapping up. Once it's after 50 minutes, 55 minutes, okay, we're going to start wrapping up.
Probably lost 15 minutes worth of content in the middle with the connection issues as well. So, because things were going slower than they probably should have.
No, but my point is, I don't advertise this publicly. I don't say, hey, this is the about 1 hour show. And then I sometimes go, and now that would be fine by your reckoning, because this is about 1 hour.
About an hour and a half, yeah.
No, it's not.
It's about. Said precisely.
Yeah, Ella thinks the same.
The same as what?
Oh, no.
Is she agreeing with me? Is she agreeing with you?
And this stream is about 3 hours. No, it's not. That's ridiculous. It's only gone on more than 2 hours and a bit once, which was when, you see, I'd say it's gone on more than 2 hours and a bit because it went on like for 2 hours and 46. I wouldn't call 2 hours and 46 2 hours and a bit. 2 hours, like that one with like the one with Tabletopia, Mark.
I'll tell you the other reason. 4-minute board games doesn't roll off the tongue as well. That's entirely it. 3-minute board games just sounds better than 4-minute board games.
I just think that that's why I wanted to make a 2-minute board game sequence, but I felt it was a bit wrong to actually call it that, even though that's really what I wanted to do, to say, hey, Jay, you can do this. But then, to be fair, I did realize that it's a lot harder with more complex games.
There's a channel or someone who does 90-second board games, and their videos are all 2.5 minutes long. So, but they're specifically gone, we're 90-second board games, but they have like a thing at the front and a thing at the back, and it's for 90-second board games, they're 2.5 minutes every single time, and that really cracks me up because they're not about 90 seconds. More than 60 seconds. It's already been done. We talked about them.
Yeah, but they don't always do exactly 60 seconds. They sometimes do like 53 seconds. So if it was exactly 60 seconds.
Yeah. I find that funny that,
if
like,
you said 60 seconds on the board, that could be the name of the show. 60 seconds on the board. And you kind of spend 60 seconds.
The intent of doing them almost bang on 3 minutes, but I just kept having to add in more stuff. That's just how it is. And in the end, it had to be 3:59 was the cutoff point because otherwise they were going to be 5 or 6 minutes long. I just had to put that arbitrary.
I mean, in all seriousness, once you get over the initial disappointment, and if there were 1 million Bezes, just imagine you're disappointing 1 million people. But afterwards, after that initial disappointment, there is the realization that, hey, it's still pretty good, even though, you know, sometimes it goes on for 3 minutes 40 seconds. You know, actually, it's not doing exactly what it says on its tin, but it is doing something potentially even better, because it's not like, okay, when there's only 2 minutes worth of content, we're going to fluff it up to 3. When there's, you know, when do you actually have 2 minutes worth of content? Let's be honest. But it's not like, okay, if we've got a somewhat simpler game, we're going to fluff it up to 3:59. If we've got so much, you give yourself some variation, and I respect that, and I understand what you're doing there, and you do a good show, and I think that it's really nice, and I think that there's a lot more people in the market than there are people making stuff. Well, you always want to have more people in the market because, you know, yeah, it takes a lot more time to make the stuff, and I would rather there was at most one of you to quite a number of us, to like maybe 5,000 people, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think there's room for a little bit more of you. And not you specifically, I just mean for more people to do things similar to you. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. I think because my format is so peculiar, that's why there haven't been any imitators. Because there've been other people who've done short form videos, but they tend to be two camera with some cut in betweens and stuff like that. No one else has tried the stop motion photography thing I do. And I think that's because if anyone tried, they'd realize just how much bloody work they are and how long each one takes. I do about 3 hours of still photography for each thing because everything's set up. Take a photo, move a couple of pieces, take a photo, move that board, move that in. It's really time consuming. So anyone trying to do a quick cash in on it's going to sit down like 12 hours in, they still haven't finished.
To succeed.
Knockoffs.
I think that, you know what, we should have you on at least 2 more times. Like, I feel like you should just be a regular guest because what now you've got your internet sorted. That was my genuinely. I was a bit. Is this going to be a regular thing? But
no, I figured out what it is.
No, like we should just talk about. I would honestly also, and because what you do is so different, I think you're almost like an outsider. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sorry. I hope that doesn't sound harsh.
No. I actually brand myself as an industry outsider
because I believe that you don't get embroiled in, and you are less likely to get embroiled in the how can I term this? Not politics. The kerfuffles of the recent kerfuffles. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's more that I'm geographically remote to practically everyone in the board game industry, with the exception of CD, who's on the chat right now, and the guys at Garfield and a few others. Like Aotearoa, New Zealand's board gaming scene. That's my scene. It's the Wellington scene. It's the New Zealand scene. I've never been to Gen Con. I've never been to Essen. I've never been to any of those big shows. I've not met Tom Bassel. I've not met Quinns. I've not met any of the big designers. I'm an outsider. I am geographically remote from publishers. I just haven't done that face-to-face networking that everyone else does. So yeah, I view myself very much as an outsider with just a different point of view. And the other thing is, I've been in the hobby forever. I've been playing these games for 35 odd years. So I developed my own tastes, my own point of view and stuff well before the internet was a thing. Like there was no internet when I got into board gaming. So there was no way I could check to see what reviews were. It was just walk into the game store. That one's got a giant robot on the cover. It looks cool. I'm going to get the game with a giant robot on the cover. And that's how I ended up playing Battletech for 2 years when I was 11. So I'm not swayed by what other reviewers say because, as far as I'm concerned, I have my point of view. There's reviewers whose opinions I respect and I do listen to what they say, but I'm never going to go, oh, that game I like, do I really like it because famous person said X?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, hello, Duchess. It's lovely to see you join us. And
I
think that what I was getting at, because you're an outsider, I would like to talk about this a little bit more, but I was hoping, because I was hoping to have Ella and maybe yourself on, because there's certainly perspectives that you can give not being part of any big network, and I would like to start a series of really talking about reviews, if you know what I mean. And really talking about games, because it's been really nice having people on, and I want to continue having new people on, not just people who can come on very often. But yeah, I mean, Ellie Dix is going to come on like maybe every couple of months, because that's something that they're able to do, talk about families and games. And, you know, I'd like, if someone's like, okay, they're doing something really cool, and then, yeah, for sure, I'd love to have new people on. And if someone's like, okay, if Tabletop Simulator, you know, if someone from there wanted to chat, or indeed someone from playingcards.io, or, you know, or just someone who's making a game about the person who made a game about Indian marriage, like if they could come on once. That's something that's I'd love to find more people who are doing these kinds of things. And I do ask people, I don't do it all the time, but afterwards, if you want to recommend anybody or if anyone wants to recommend stuff, then that would be super awesome if you could get in touch or make an introduction. But what I really want to do is to have a few kinds of reviewers, because once we've kind of gotten through this initial, okay, this is who you are, now we've had this chat, I know a bit about you, you know a bit about me, and now we don't need to go through the, URJ from 3 Minutes Board Games for longer than 20 seconds, do you know what I mean? And then we can just have a real chat, hopefully, about being an outsider, what that means, not being part of, okay, timeliness and board game reviews, let's talk about,
I have opinions. I have opinions on that.
Publisher kind of reviewer relationships, if you know what I mean, which is a weird one.
Yep, I have strong opinions on everything. So, yeah, more than happy to share them. And yeah, I'm really excited to have Ella to kind of start talking about a little bit of this stuff. But obviously, it's good to have multiple perspectives, and it would be great to have you on regularly. So just to recap, if you want to make washboard abs, then you start doing sit-ups with yogi, and then you move up to heavier and heavier boxes. If you want to make 3 Minute Board Games videos, then, call it something different, but absolutely go ahead and do that, because amazing stuff, not just the stop motion nature, but the kind of general thing. You can go to 3minuteboardsgames.com. Do you want to wrap up? Yeah, thank you, everyone. I like his videos, and I like that they are very different. Yeah, so,
well
Duchess, you met me at WellyCon?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Do you know Duchess?
Not by handle. I'd be curious to see in what circumstances, because I kind of flail around like a flailing thing.
I mean, it's possible that maybe, I wonder, is Duchess the name that they go by in real life, or virtual WellyCon?
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Because I think CD and Xate know, and also Aqua know better.
It was in the Shem chat. Yeah. So we ended up in this Shem Phillips talking about game design, and it was actually turned out to be quite a small group. So I ended up interviewing him for about an hour. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. That was awesome.
I want to, really wrap up. Ella, Alan, Aqua, Xate, CD, Duchess, and Javier. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this chat. Thank you to anyone whose name I forgot. But most importantly, there is one person that I want to specially thank, and that is... Wait. Jay.
I'd actually like to do one last thing before we finish up, and that's finish with a karakia. And
is this the best moments, or would you like to do it just before the bye-bye song?
Just before the bye-bye song would be perfect.
Okay. So, thank you very much. If people wish to find you, I've posted all the links in the Twitch chat, and it's also on YouTube and Facebook. If you want to find me, then it's stuffbybez.bigcartel.com, twitter.com/stuffbybez, where I tweet a lot, instagram.com/stuffbybez, where I Instagram less, twitch.tv/stuffbybez, I guess I stream a lot, who knew, facebook.com/thingsbybez, that's a thing, stuffbybez@gmail.com if you wish to email me. What are we looking forward to? Hopes and ambitions, it's over to you for this final section. I invite everybody, especially Jay, but also everybody watching, to talk about something they're looking forward to and hopes and ambitions. I am personally looking forward to seeing Chris, who I believe might be already at the door, and also to playtesting a whole bunch of L games. Yeah.
My one is I'm looking forward to getting the. We did a artist brief for the artist for my game, and I sent off artist briefs for a bunch of cards, and I am really looking forward to see how they turn out, because that is going to be exciting.
Nice. And yeah, we've got some. Maybe feel free to, as I said, shout out anything you're looking forward to. But we've got a few comments that say unforgettable. That's what you are.
That's why, darling, it's incredible. You got me singing.
CD is hoping to make it to 50 followers so that they can do stuff like channel points. And Alan Outson is, but you'll be disappointed. Alan Outson says they're looking forward to getting a large tree stump out of the ground.
True story. We had a tree stump around here when my dad turned up to visit one day, and he saw it, and Mum came in, and Dad just was like, he just went and dug up the stump. Like, he didn't come in for tea. He didn't say hi. He was like, well, give me a spade. I'm going to get rid of that stump for you. That's my dad.
So, if you've enjoyed this, then please share, spread the word. I like to paste in my YouTube link because my YouTube link is annoyingly long. And if you follow me, then hopefully I will get closer to 100 people, at which point there's only 45 to go. And then I'll be able to have a proper YouTube link. I think then it'll become like youtube.com/channels, just stuff like Bez. Alan Outson says, do they want to pop down to West London?
He's a little old now. I wouldn't want him running the risk of getting exposed to anything. He's in his 70s. He's one of those old guys who works at a hardware store giving people advice about building stuff now. That's his job.
My next streams are going to be, I'm doing a thing in hopefully less than an hour with Layla and Chris, and we are going to be playing some L games. And then tonight I'm going to be doing the first, I'm still going to call it Tuesday Trials. I've been kind of thinking about what to call it for a lot of the past day, because I've stopped the Thursdays. Now it's no, but I'll talk about it tonight. And so that's something I'm doing. And then tomorrow I am chatting to no one. I'm chatting to myself about Categoric Hell. Thursday, I'm chatting to Ellie Dix about conventions, just in time for the UK Games Expo virtually. And then talk about my top 5 L games. On the 22nd, I'm being skipped because I'm going to be on the UK Games Expo Twitch channel, one of them. And then the State of Bears on Sunday, and Monday I'm still working that out with someone else, because there's a potential guest. We will see. Anyway, so you have something special for us as we wrap up.
So it's a tradition to either start or end a meeting with a karakia, which is a proverb or a prayer. This one is non-religious, and I'll read it out in Te Reo Māori first, and then I'll provide an English translation. So, kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa pona mo te moana. He haruru matato e te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tato e, tato katoa. And what that means is, may peace be widespread. May the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day. Give love, receive love, let us show respect to each other. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, basically. Yeah.
Those are good wishes. And now the only thing left to do is simply to bid everyone bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go.
Ti he maori ora.
Bye bye.